Hey everyone, how you doing today? My name's Kirsty, aka Beth Bookish, and I apparently hate myself. Kirsty, you may be thinking, why would you ever say that you hate yourself? Surely you don't hate yourself that much. Yes, I absolutely do. Because in today's video, I am kickstarting a new series that is going to be something I do through the year. I have no idea how often I'm going to do this, but I'm calling it Taste Test, and essentially what I am going to do is I'm going to choose a taste, aka a genre, and I'm then going to try the different flavours of that particular taste. In other words, I'm going to pick a genre of books that I don't typically read, and I'm going to then read between 1 to 3 books per subgenre within that genre to determine once and for all, is it that I don't like this genre as a whole, or is it that I've just not found the right subgenre within it for my reading tastes? What is the best holiday to kick this off with than Halloween? Which means reading horror. So yeah. This is going to be probably like a 2 or 3 part series, similar to what Gavin does with his vlogs of Halloween. I will be releasing 2 or 3 over sort of the September-October time. And yeah, I hate myself so much. I have done a spinner wheel, as you can see here. We have all the different subgenres of horror that I have been able to acquire books for. I have a little list here as well. First of all, why do I not read horror? I have the opposite of aphantasia. So someone with aphantasia, you know, they can't picture things in their mind. You know, once they've read something, that's it, it's gone. They don't really dwell on things. I remember things in 4K Ultra HD. If I watch something, it will stick with me, and even as a small child, the earliest memory I have of this was watching The Mummy with my brother, and in the opening sequence, when they put the scarab beetles in, I spent at least a week after that waking up every single night screaming because I so vividly dreamt that there were scarab beetles on me that I woke up and I could feel them and I could see them. And even now as an adult, there have been multiple occasions where I have woken up. The most famous one in recent years was when I was living with my ex and I dreamt that there was this giant snake on me. I woke up screaming. I was like flinging the covers. I sent the cat flying across the room because she was asleep on me at the time. Woke my then fiance up, who was like, what the hell, thinking that someone had broken in, which then caused chaos. And just by the time we were done and I'd explained everything, it wasn't great. And I suffer from like residual dreams, so it can take me a long time to come out of a dream. It's not always an instantaneous like I'm awake, I know it was a dream. Sometimes it lingers and it can take me a while to properly process that I am safe and that so there is a reason I tend to avoid horror. I have enjoyed certain films. I definitely loved the Paranormal Activity series. Again though, it caused me to have almost hallucinations after watching it. I am a bit of a coward anyway, but I also have actual like psychological things that happen and that get triggered when I watched these particular things. So yeah, I do tend to avoid it. I definitely am not a fan of gore. I am not someone who enjoys, like, I've watched Hostel and I've watched Final Destination, I've watched one Saw movie. I hate all of those. They are the ones that most vividly stick in my brain. They are the ones that even now, I watched The Human Centipede 16 years ago now. I still occasionally will have nightmares of it, and I've only watched it once. I've never even gone near it since. So yeah, needless to say, I'm a little bit of a coward mixed in with someone who has suffered a lot of PTSD and trauma and suffers with vivid night terrors and other trauma type symptoms. Let's just say I have pre-warned my uncle about this because I was like, I am essentially throwing C4, kryptonite, whatever you can think of, at an already ticking time bomb that's ready to explode. So, I do it for you guys. I do it for the fans. But alongside doing this, I will also be doing, for each of the subgenres, there are also a few movies that I've got written down, and I'll be seeing what I can get on Netflix, which is the only sort of subscription thing that I've got. I will watch a movie associated, and I may sprinkle in some little sort of Halloween-y activities. For example, there is a lake right down the road near me that is like not even a 3-minute walk away. There has been some not great stuff that happened there. 20 years ago, a teenage girl was unfortunately murdered there, and that was where she was found, and it's where it happened. There's a lot of sort of not great activity down there. There's been a couple of stabbings that way. I don't believe any were fatal, but I know it's been not the best of places, and it's got that atmosphere when you're there. There just seems to feel like there's this presence. There is also a cemetery directly. Can you see it from my bedroom? Let's see. Can I see it? Not quite. There is one house blocking the view of the cemetery, but there is like one cemetery just down there, and then there is another one directly opposite just through the trees. So I've got kind of two churchyards. There's one that's got a church, so there's a church, an old church with the graveyard. There's like the main graveyard for this area, cemetery for this area. And I'm like, okay, so for certain subgenres and certain things, I will also throw in little sort of horror challenges in there as well to really get myself freaked out. If I read a book in a subgenre and I immediately know that this is not something, I'm predicting this is going to happen with splatterpunk. If I know for a fact that I've read a book and I go, I know this is not for me, then I'm not going to force myself. At the end of the day, this is for me to try the genre. It's not for me to freak myself out over, and it's not for me to, you know, go so far the other way that I'll never try it again. I have put in one subgenre that I already know I do enjoy, but I figure because I'm reading so far out of my comfort zone, I need that in there, and that is gothic horror. I do enjoy a good gothic horror, so I've put that in just for my own sort of sake, to kind of be a bit of a palate cleanser. I'm going to roll the wheel, find out what subgenre I'm going to be reading. I will then tell you what books I've got for that subgenre, and then I will get on and do some reading and maybe watching some films and see what else I get onto. Okay, let's spin and find out. I'm kind of wanting something like paranormal, folk, haunted house, occult, something that's a little bit more in line with something that I might be more inclined to pick up anyway. So let's see what we get. I was gonna stop on splatterpunk straight out. I would have cried. Okay, religious. Nothing like a bit of religious trauma to kickstart this trauma of this vlog. Okay, so I genuinely thought I was going to go splatterpunk. Oof. The books that I have in the religious genre, I have one right here actually. I do actually own a couple of these. We have A Murder of Saints by Chris Miller, which I believe is more of like a thriller, but it does say that it is a horror, so I'm going to count that. I have The Year of the Witchin by Alexis Henderson, and I have The Woods All Black by Mandelo. And some of the films that I've got for this, we have The Exorcist, The Fresh Omen, and The Sacrament. They're all ones that I've been told are good religious horrors, but like I said, I will watch what I can get. And as I said, some of these subgenres will have challenges, and this is one of them, but you will get more detail on that at a later date once I start reading. So yeah, let's let the torment begin. Sorry for the lighting, you're just gonna have to deal. I'm only at the intro for this and I'm so confused. It's like the midwife and the midwife's daughter and the baby, and the way it's written, I can't tell who's talking, who is who. I think it's the midwife's daughter gives birth and she's the one saying that there's a curse. I don't know, maybe I'm too tired. Maybe I shouldn't be reading in bed because I know I get tired and don't follow things. But that's really confusing. But at least I've officially started. So I'm gonna continue and I'll catch you up tomorrow in the day when there's better lighting. Kind of hate myself right now because it is 9 p.m. The sun went down about 10 minutes ago. You can see it's still reasonably light, but it is getting darker by literally the second. The street light just there is probably coming on in the next 5 to 10, maybe 15 minutes, and when it does, that is my signal to go. I'm already shaking. There is a church literally just through the gap in these houses. It says that the opening times to get onto the cemetery itself and like the grounds of the church is from dusk till dawn. From dawn till dusk. So I'm going to assume that by now they've locked up, but I'm going to take a walk over, and even if I can only get as far as the gate and then I have to sit at the gate to read, I will do that. So yeah, I just figure, you know, I'm reading religious horror. Let's go somewhere that's kind of religious and set the mood. Why? I have predicted that I'm going to take about 20 minutes before I nope out and come home. My uncle reckons I'm going to get to the gate and chicken out, which fair, because yesterday I thought about sitting out in the garden and reading and I chickened out of that. But I figure if I go while there's still a slither of daylight and I'm there reading like with that tiny bit of daylight going into the night, maybe I'll cope a little bit better than just going straight out into the pitch black. But yeah, I shouldn't imagine there's going to be too many people because all the dog walkers are probably done. The people who work are probably going to bed. The only people that are going to be around are probably like the druggies, the drunks, and me, who is just a plain idiot. For safety though, I have thought about that. I have definitely considered safety measures. I will be messaging my uncle. It'll only be like a little thumbs up emoji or something, but I'll be messaging him every sort of 10 minutes, if I even last that long. And I also, I said I was gonna take a screwdriver with me, and he was like, that's dodgy. I don't think you should do that because, you know, could be considered a weapon. So his suggestion was fly spray, because, you know, no one's going to question, why do you have a can of fly spray? It's like, well, it was in my bag and I forgot to take it back out. And if someone does try anything, I'm not expecting them to, but I do also live in a pretty rough area. So it's like, if anyone does try anything, they will just get a can of fly spray to the face. Along with the various other things that I've learned over the years for how to defend myself. So if anyone does try anything, they're probably going to end up unable to have children and potentially unable to ever see again, because I will gouge their eyes out. I'm scrappy. If I keep talking about it, I'm going to freak myself out. So I'm going to go upstairs. I'm currently still in my pyjamas, as always. So I'm going to go upstairs, put something warm on, because even though it's not exactly cold, it is sort of, at this point in the day, I think we're at about 19... Oh, it's 16 degrees, and by the time I leave, it'll be 14 degrees. So yeah, I'm gonna go put some warmer clothes on, get ready to freak myself out. Why am I doing this? Gavin, what are you doing? Why do you inspire me so? Talk about getting out of your comfort level. Anyway, I'm gonna go get ready and start preparing to leave. You don't want to do it. Not me. It's 15 minutes later. This is what the outside looks like. I figure it's dark enough that I can do my thing, but light enough that I can feel safe doing it, so I'm gonna head out. I hate myself so much. I already hate myself. What the hell am I doing? What am I doing? Ooh, what was that? Not a kitty. You're a kitty, right? You tell me you're a cat. Oh, you're that cat that keeps coming in my garden. And this is how I die, because I get lured by cats. Oh, the trees are groaning. I don't like it. So yeah, this is the path. I think that cat just set a dog off. Like, it's not too bad because there are houses literally just here. My house is literally just there. You can't even see it because it's dark. But my house is literally where that light is, so I'm not going too far. I'm going far enough. That, you know, it's creepy and I don't like it. God, that made me jump. I have got to get a grip. Watched too many of Gavin's videos. Prone to overreacting. I mean, if anyone asks, I could just say them do some nighttime photography. Tell me this is not creepy. It's creepy, right? Ugh. Okay. Ooh, shit. Oh my god. What am I doing? This is it. Ugh. I'm wondering if I should stay near the gate because, like, I don't want to be locked in. I just feel that might be a bit safer. What is that? Oh my god. I think it's a headstone, but it looks like it's something white and moving. Oh wait, it's me. Oh god. Okay, I'm gonna go back to the entry. I'm gonna check what it says about timings, because obviously, like I said, I don't want to get locked in. I can just, like, there's literally like a gap there I can just get through, but it's all got nettles and I don't want to get stung. Oh. Okay. Huh. Don't know if you can see that, but apparently it shuts at like 5. So I think I'm safe. I think I'm good. Twice I to sit. You can tell I'm safe. I have my can is ready to go, and I have my key also ready to go. I just realised I haven't actually told you guys what the book is that I am reading. So I am reading Year of the Witch-In by Alex something or other, I can't remember. And oh, it's my favourite grave, the one with the angel, but that's also really terrifying at this time of night. So yeah, I'm reading Year of the Witch-In, and in this book we follow our main character who has grown up in this super religious cult type community. It's like they have a prophet, and the prophet has multiple wives, and she's expected to become one of his wives. Okay, it's people. And basically, when you become his wife, a mark is cut onto your head and you just sort of become his wife. Now, she was born under not very good circumstances. I don't know if it was that her mother was assaulted, but certainly she was born out of wedlock and she has been treated badly and differently her whole life. The story basically follows her as she comes of age and is now expected to marry. Only she discovers that she has this deep, dark, powerful magic inside of her, and she has to try and hide it from everyone. And in the first chapter, like, the description of her birth was so visceral and vivid. I was like, whoa. Like, I thought it was really cool, but I was also like, whoa. Like, this is a lot. Yeah, we then are now following her. She's an adult, her friend's about to marry the prophet and is about to become his latest bride, and they're lamenting over what that means for them, like how that's going to change their friendship, how is that going to change how they perceive each other. And yeah, she is just basically like, I don't want change, I don't want this to be any different. And her friend's like, don't worry, we'll be great, we'll be safe, we'll be fine. And it seems like she's caught the eye of the prophet's eldest son, who's due to take over from him. And that's literally all I got to. I only did the first, like, the intro and the first chapter. Do I feel like I'm brave enough to set up and read? Probably not. I don't know. Let's keep going for a little bit. I think maybe you can see it's still not fully dark. I wasn't that brave. I mean, to be fair though, the fact that I'm here at all, braver than I thought I would be. I never thought I'd actually get out of the house. I really love these tombstones. Like this one, I actually have a photo of this one that I took a few years ago. This one here, where she's kneeling in prayer. I love her, she's beautiful. And she's one that I took a photo a few years ago that became like part of my portfolio. Ooh, the moon looks pretty. It'll focus. Focus! Focus! It does not want to know. Yeah, you can see all the different headstones. I think I read the oldest headstone here is like 17 something, and then the cemetery went out of use in the early 1900s, and that's when Wincott New Cemetery was created, which is the other one by me. Hello everyone, I'm just talking about you. I hope you all don't mind, but if you do mind, please don't let me know. I am happy to remain oblivious. Thank you very much. If there are any ghosties or spirits, you do not need to tell me that you are here. I do not want to have to do any cardio today, and running for my life will count. Try not to tell me, please. I don't know why it won't focus. I'm so sorry. Oh, it's kind of pretty. Okay, so I did not know that I am technically breaking the law right now. I genuinely did not realise that it's an offence to be in a cemetery after the gates are shut, and that I could be convicted and fined. So I'm gonna slowly but surely make my way back down the way. I was gonna go for a loop around. I figure taking the most direct route would be better because I don't want to get a fine or arrested for doing these silly, stupid vlogs. Just as I was starting to actually feel comfortable and think I could get my book out and I could start start reading. So I think what I might do, because I've also realised, ooh, that was a shadow. Because I've also realised that during this video, if I set the camera up, how are you going to see me reading? It's not like I'm somewhere that's got light, and I don't want to bring like a big torch and be like, hey, advertising, hey, I'm here, come and get me. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to, like, maybe one night I'll come out and sit just outside the gate where there's like the, I'll show you here. Like you can see there's the gate is just here, and then there's a street light and there's quite a light area there. So I think what I'm gonna do is one night I'll come down a different night and I will sit down there and read, maybe. Like, I feel like a right muppet if anyone comes and asks what I'm doing, but pff, that would actually be the scariest thing, is someone asking me what am I doing, be like, reading. What are you doing? Okay, I'm gonna try and get a little bit more B-roll before I lose all the light, and then I'm gonna scarper. So. Clanging on metal, I think someone's come through the gate. Run, 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 run. Nope. Nope, not breaking the rules. I've nothing to see here. Yeah, I just heard the gate at the back go. Like, oh shit, better run. In case they think I'm doing some dodgy stuff. Okay, gonna go home. It's a lot darker now than it was. Like, there's still a tiny bit of light, but yeah, it's definitely darker. Hey, that part of the woods. I am not going in there. Oh, there? Not a fucking chance. Fucking gross, I have to get the cardio in. I didn't want cardio. Okay. Going. There's something in the bushes. It's just made up my mind, I'm going left. Right is more direct and leads me directly opposite my house, but considering I just heard something in those bushes. Hi, I'm home. They are not kidding when they tell you about fear sweats, because holy shit. Oh no, I mean, it doesn't help that I ran, because, you know, I heard the gate open and someone, I don't think I caught it on camera, but someone actually was like, anyone there? And I was like, no! So I kind of did like a little shouted over my shoulder, being like, I'm so sorry, I didn't know, I'm going, and then just ran. So, yeah. Like, I don't know if it's a local bylaw or if it's an actual law, but yeah, certainly that cemetery, it had a sign. Like, there's two entrances. There's the bottom one that I came through, and then there's the main gate at the top. And yeah, when I got to that gate, I had a quick look at the sign there just to, you know, make sure that everything was okay. And it said, like, it is a public offence to be in the cemetery after closing, which is dusk, and it is far past dusk now. And it was like, if you are caught on the grounds after this time, you are liable for prosecution and being fined. And I was like, oh shit, so not only am I a brave little bean, but I'm also a law-breaking brave little bean. So I was like, let's just get out, let's just go. I stopped for like the briefest minute to like put my torch on to get a little bit more b-roll, and that's when I heard the gate and I was like, shit, just run. Yeah, so apparently it's like the cemetery's own rules. It would have been considered trespassing. So I think what I'm going to have to do is, obviously I did have the idea to go to the other cemetery for when I do the paranormal and ghost subgenre, because I was like, you know, that makes sense. I don't have a big budget. I have no budget, so I'm trying to think of things that I can do for free. But now that I know that that's not something I can do, then I will not do that. So yeah, I'm definitely still like, there's something I've got planned for eco horror, and they're not necessarily going out and doing stuff, but definitely the idea of getting myself out of my own comfort zone. I do have things planned for a few other vlogs as well, so it's not like this is the only one where I'm going to be doing stuff, but holy crap. That freaked me out on the way back. The bushes just suddenly like burst with activity and I was like, nope, no, 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 get me the fuck home. So I was gone. I don't know how well I explained that book, by the way. I feel like I did a really bad job, but I was distracted by my fear, okay? So yeah, I'm gonna try and come up with some other solution at some point. Three, two, one. Okay. Normally when she comes running in like that, there's a big meow that comes out of her. What was that about? Huh? So, what spooked you? Huh? Was it the ghost? Did it follow me home? Oh no. Did they follow me? Do they know who I am? I'm sorry, I didn't know. Probably should have checked that kind of thing before I left, but I was a bit more focused on not getting killed, to be fair. So yeah, I'm just gonna accept that that's what happened. Hopefully I'll be back with an update soon. But yeah, that was fun. Can't wait to do it again. I have a scratch that was not there when I left. That scratch on my hand. This? Like, it's not exactly small either. It's a pretty decent chunk of my hand. That wasn't there when I left. The fuck? And I could start ow. A month after I started filming, I finally finished something for this vlog. It's been a really rough month with slumping, not gonna lie. And I ended up reading a book that wasn't even on the list to begin with. I went through Libby and there was a few audiobooks that were like freely available. So I had a quick look and I was like, oh, okay, The Wood's All Black. I was like, I'm sure that's on my list somewhere. And what would you know? It was on my religious horror. So I was like, okay, audiobook in, let's go. And it got 2.5 stars. Woo! Great start. So in this story, we have our main character, Leslie. It's only been 2 days and I'm already forgetting people's names. We have Leslie, aka Les, who is a transgender male, so is transmasc, and works for this like nursing corps, and is sent to the Appalachian back end of nowhere, tiny little town, to give people their vaccines for things like polio and stuff like, is it polio? Can't remember what it was now. But it was just to bring vaccines, and he was like, well, while I'm here, I'm going to do what I can to help support the local community, maybe help encourage women to not get pregnant and maybe offer them solutions to stop getting pregnant in the first place. But unfortunately it's kind of a thing that is a big no-no. Contraceptive stuff, it's not done. But he's like, well, if I can try, and all of this. So he enters this town, is immediately Everyone misgenders him because, you know, they do not accept the folk that are like him, therefore he has to dress like a woman. He gets called out quite a lot, and people are like, you know, when he goes to the church, they're like, the next time you step foot in this church, you will be dressed appropriately. He's very much shunned, very much outcast, very much has this sense of ugh. But while he's there, he meets Stevie and instantly recognises a kindred spirit. But Stevie has run into some problems of his own. And so now starts this storyline where you've got Leslie trying to support the community, do what he can to help them, bring them their vaccines, but also, you know, with his ulterior motive of helping them in ways that he's not really supposed to, along with now trying to save Stevie, and feelings start to creep in and all of this. But there's also this overtone of the woods have this sinister feeling. So at night he gets these horrible feelings and these horrible instincts from the forest. There's a couple of incidents where animals are being mauled by strange beings, people seem to be going missing, and there's just all sorts going on. I will say that I did really enjoy the trans rep and the way that was written. I was like, wow, this really feels like I am reading a first person perspective, and it felt very intimate. And it felt very, I can't really think of the word. I did enjoy that representation and learning about that, but that's kind of the only thing I really liked. The characters were very flat, one-dimensional, and dare I say boring. I didn't like the fact that there was a bit of a power dynamic between Leslie and Stevie, and Leslie did feel like he was abusing that a little bit, and I didn't like that. Of course, it's a religious kind of setting, and one thing I am learning extremely quickly about religious horror is that women are treated as nothing more than vessels to pop out babies, and they are not worth listening to, they are not worth respecting. It's okay to abuse them, and assault is very much used as a plot driver in the two books that I've read so far, like the one that I've finished and the one that I'm currently reading. And I'm learning that while there are elements of the religious thing that I do appreciate, such as usually the comeuppance part, I am not enjoying this religious overtone. I think mostly because of that attitude that they have towards women. And I know that that's how it is, and I know that even now there are a lot of people in religious communities who force women into subservient roles, and that women are seen as lesser people and undeserving of their own freedoms and their own thoughts, and heaven forbid they feel lust. Oof, no. So, you know, I am really struggling with that aspect, and really that is dragging it down. But the biggest problem I had with this book is how it's supposed to be a horror, yet not once did I think that any of this was horrific. I was like, thriller potentially, but this feels more like a historical drama type thing. I could see this being a short series on HBO or something like that, you know? I just couldn't quite get behind it. The atmosphere was very lackluster. For how short the book is, it took far too long to get anywhere with the plot. Like, this was only a 4-hour long audiobook, and I would say it took until hour 3 before something really started to happen. And then after that, everything went so fast, it stopped being believable. And yeah, the pacing was off, the characters were off, the story was not great. Like I said, I really did enjoy the trans rep and the way that that perspective was written, and I did like Leslie as a character up until the point, seemingly out of nowhere, they went from having him being aware of who Stevie is to that's my boy, and I was like, this has been like not even a day. It was rushed and clumsy, and definitely I know other people, and when I've looked on Goodreads, people have said that it's not the best book by this author, but I'm also like, I don't know if I would pick up anything by this author. Again, I don't know. But yeah, that does mean that book number 1 is complete. And so for that, we have 2.5 stars. Not the best start. Definitely figuring out quite quickly that this is not going to be my favourite subgenre. But yeah, we're going to continue on, and hopefully the next one. I am having a slightly better time with the other one, the Year of the Witching. I just haven't gone near it for a few weeks because I've just been in a horrific slump again. That's been the biggest horror in my life, is this slump that just seems to have latched on, doesn't want to let me go. It's really frustrating and I'm kind of done with it. That's where I'm at so far with that. Hi. It has been well over a month, maybe like coming up to 2 months since I recorded the intro to this, as well as did the first book and then the graveyard, and then I've done nothing else. So I did start filming part 2 of this, where I said I was going to do this as kind of like a 3 books for every genre, but we're well in October now and I have been really severely slumping. So I am going to change things up a little bit. I've decided for now I'm going to soft DNF The Year of the Witching, even though I wouldn't say I was enjoying it, I will say I was intrigued, so I will continue that. But I decided I was going to pick a different subgenre, and I was very fortunate that I got body horror, and I recently entered a giveaway and won an ARC not only of Demon Song by Kelsey Yu that I'll be reading very soon, but I got an ARC of Hazelthorn by C.G. Drews. Calling it now. This is my book of the year. I'm telling you now. I cannot think of anything that is going to come close to this. This is I'm calling it now. It is book of the year. It is the first book I have given 5 stars since April, when I read Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young. This absolutely blew me away. We follow Evander and Laurie, mostly Evander though, who has grown up in this manor called Hazelthorn. He was taken in as a child by this eccentric, very lonely, isolated billionaire old man, and was taken in when his parents died and has been raised as one of the family. He is autistic. He has these what he calls episodes. He's basically on tons of medication. He's not allowed to leave his room for his own safety. He has lived this extraordinarily isolated life. The only other person he sees is the butler and the billionaire Byron's grandson Laurie, who he has been told explicitly he cannot be left alone with. He can't remember exactly what happened. All he knows is that as a child, Laurie tried to kill him, and the only memory he's got is of Laurie standing over him while he's like lying in the ground, basically disemboweled. He's got no memory of his life before. He's got very few memories since. All he knows is that his little life is, he can't deal with any new things or any disruption. And then the story begins with the death of his adoptive grandfather and Laurie's grandfather, and then all of the family kind of descends on the estate because it is revealed that the sole heir to this estate is Evander. Not any of the biological relatives, but his adoptive grandson. So naturally the rest of the family are like, we're going to turn up and we're going to, in various different ways, try to get Evander on our side so that we get a portion of the inheritance. Or, you know, just get rid of him altogether and things like that. And it leads to this, because first of all, Evander is convinced that the grandfather was actually murdered and that it wasn't an innocent thing. And then a bunch of other stuff begins to happen that forces him and Laurie to have to work together to figure out who the actual killer is. And it unlocks a whole host of secrets, identities, and everything else, and just, oh. But the whole story, like, even though this happened with Laurie as a child, Evander has got this obsession with him. It's like he can't face being away from him, and whenever he is, he's got this pain there. And just it's just a story of this obsession and this compulsion and this darkness while finding family secrets, and it's all wrapped up in this huge allegory for the autistic experience. And as an autistic person, the best way I can say, and as I've said this in my, like, I messaged the author with like this going, excuse me, what the fuck? But this book broke me, it healed me, it shattered me, it devastated me, it got me obsessed. The writing is stunning. Do I feel like there were a few bits that I think people won't enjoy? Obviously, yes. If I take away from how much I enjoyed everything, the plot, yeah, was a little bit simplistic, maybe could have been a little bit more in depth, but it took me on a ride. There were things that got revealed that I didn't realise, there were moments I didn't see coming. There was one point I was reading it and I just went, oh! Like, I was like, whoa! There was one bit that had me, actually, my skin was crawling and I was like, oh, get it off, get it off, get it off. And I just, oh my god. And considering, like I said, I am taste testing horror, this, I don't know if it was really the body horror or the plant horror, but I think I've definitely unlocked something with this, because the gothic vibes were incredible, that compulsion and obsession, and you've got this garden that is almost sentient. Well, not even almost, it is sentient. It reveals itself in ways you don't expect, and it was so good. There were descriptions in there of like body stuff going on that happened to him and happened to Laurie, and I was like, this is very, for a YA, I am shocked. Like, this did not feel like a YA in any way, shape or form for me. And if the point of this book is obsession, and I am obsessed. Yes, like I said, calling it now, this is book of the year for me, and just, it hasn't yet come out. It comes out October 28th, but I also have Don't Let the Forest In by the same author that I have on my TBR for this month, and I am now seriously like, if that is as good as this, I have a new all-time favourite author, because, and I know there's a few special editions and stuff coming out of this, so I will absolutely be getting myself a special edition if I can, and I'm going to keep this one. And my goal, because the author is Australian, I probably won't be getting to Australia anytime soon, and I have no idea if they're ever going to come over here, but if they ever do and I can get this signed, it'll be amazing to actually get the copy that they sent me with the giveaway and that I've been talking to them about, and get that actually signed. That would be amazing. But yeah, this, I cannot describe it, the ways that this hit me on such an emotional level, especially so many of the inner monologue from Evander. Again, as someone who is autistic, it resonated so hard with my personal autistic experience, and the way it's in like the first chapter, the way that the author writes Evander having a meltdown, because everyone always assumes that a meltdown just means that you get this like explosive and it comes out of nowhere. Yes, most meltdowns are quite explosive in nature, but there's a lot of stuff that happens that builds to that explosion. But a lot of media only portrays the explosion, or when people think about meltdowns, they just go, oh, someone's having a meltdown, they've exploded. It's like, but it described like the tightness, the skin tingling, the heat rising. It described everything so perfectly that it actually was starting to make me feel overwhelmed, and I had to take a minute, because I was like, I'm at risk of putting myself into overload if I keep reading this, because so well done, good job on that. But I do have a couple of quotes that I really loved. So obviously this is an advanced reader copy, some of the quotes may change, but a few that I have tabbed that I love. We've got, when he fractures, it is in a place so deep inside himself that he cannot begin to collect the shattered pieces. I have felt that myself on many an occasion. There may or may not also be a candle coming out, because it did describe some scents, and I was like, perhaps it is him who is the discordant note, his blood pooling in the dirt of a place that is meant to be lovely. This, I actually messaged my group chat and I was like, guys, I'm crying, I'm dying, help. Who tells you to be quiet all the time? Pain is meant to take up space, or else we wouldn't know how to scream. Fuck making your agony silent to avoid disturbing others. Maybe they should be disturbed. But yeah, this whole thing, and then right at the very end, I will not say because it is spoilery, but in the sort of last chapter something got said and I just went, oh my god, this book is all about this. And oh, it was beautiful. And I've talked about this now. Probably won't be 13 minutes in when you see this, but right now it's 13 and a half minutes long of me just talking about how beautiful this book is. So yeah, I think I've definitely found at least an author, if not a part of horror, I think I'm going to really enjoy. I think I'm going to maybe try and do something else kind of spooky-ish. I don't know. Obviously I did the cemetery, and even though it wasn't even completely night, I scared myself so much I don't want to do anything anymore. I'm like, I don't like this. As I said, it's not that I'm scared because, ooh, ghosts. I am very hyper aware of my safety. Is not a safe place. I do not feel safe where I live. It is the worst part of the town for things like drugs and stabbings and things like that. So I have very valid reasons outside of just, you know, I'm a woman, and outside of just it's always dangerous to be out at night. I have extra concerns that stop me from going out alone as soon as it starts to get dark. But, you know, I might try and persuade my uncle to go with me, just to, even if it's just to sit in the car while I go down to the lake for 5 minutes and do something. I don't know. I've got loads of books that I could read, but it's like, do I do the spinner wheel or do I'll do the spinner. I don't know. Because I'm coming out of a slump and I don't want to force myself back into a slump by reading something that's going to like not be an enjoyment. I will have a think. And in the next clip I will either be spinning the wheel or I'll come back and be like, I just picked another book. But yes, if you haven't tried this author yet, please do. If you are interested in horror, but especially if you are interested in queer horror or horror with disability rep or anything like that, just plants, queer, disability, anxiety, it's got it all. Just read it. It's so good. Hi, I am kind of wrapping up this vlog in this clip, and it's not in the way that I was hoping. Between my last update and now, I went into yet another, not too bad a slump, but it was more I got sick. I am still sick. I am still coming out of it. I'm able to talk a bit better today. There's been a couple of videos that should be up by now or are coming up very soon. And you can hear I'm not great and I am still recovering from that. And obviously being sick, you don't really want to be reading. And if you do read, I especially don't really want to be reading horror while I'm like feeling that unwell and vulnerable. I have finished something that I wasn't planning on reading for this, but I'm going to count it for this because it is very definitely horror and it has rated extremely highly. But I am also going to give what I don't usually do. I am going to preempt the final book because I have started one final book on audio, but it is Tuesday today. This video is due to go live on Friday. I've still got a lot of editing to do for it. I'm still recovering from my cold and my sort of messed up chest, and I don't want to be rush editing this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to wrap up the one, talk about the other, and then if for some miraculous reason today or tomorrow I do get a lot further in, I'll do one final clip, otherwise this will be the end of the vlog. This is either going to be the final part of the vlog where I sign off, say goodbye, or you're going to get another clip in a bit and that will be me saying bye. But anyway, what is the book that I was not planning on reading, did read and loved? Don't Like the Forest in by C.G. Drews. Yes, the same C.G. Drews who I read Hazelthorn from earlier this month gave 5 stars and has kind of unlocked a primal feral part of my brain that is absolutely loving this kind of book, because this has some similar themes and ideas. You've got 2 boys who are obsessed with each other and this really messed up dynamic between them. And it's got like the similar themes of possession and that kind of thing, and the plant horror is there are a lot of similarities, but there are a lot of big differences as well in this. The setting is very different. This is set at a boarding school. this deals a lot more with where in Hazelthorn our main character has the autistic perspective and we get a lot from that perspective. This one we get a lot of social anxiety, depression, as well as the main character, or one of the main characters, Andrew, is asexual. So he knows he wants to kiss a boy and one boy only, but he knows that he never wants it to go further than that. And a big thing about why he has held off admitting his feelings is because he's kind of aware that not only does he feel like Thomas likes his sister, not him, he is concerned that Thomas does want that kind of sexual relationship that he knows he can't give. And it does prompt a conversation throughout the book, and that does get resolved. But yeah, again, the writing, exquisite. I don't have as many quotes marked out in this one as I did in Hazelthorn, but a couple that stood out that I loved. We've got, once upon a time, Andrew had cut out his heart and given it to this boy, and he was very sure Thomas had no idea that Andrew would do anything for him, protect him, lie for him, kill for him. Just, I loved that. And there is a quote, I read a thing, I was like, ooh, highlighted it, loved it, kept it, and it's probably going to go into my quote book, like page in my reading journal. And then when I was talking to Jonah, Jonah replied and was like, I've just read something for the first time in my life. I have highlighted a quote. He'd sent a photo of the quote and I was like, oh my God. And we'd both highlighted the same part of the book. For a vicious moment, Andrew thought about slipping his fingers into Thomas's cut, taking hold of his rib and breaking it, pulling the soft crumbling bone from his chest and sewing it into his own. They'd be forever together, rib against rib, fused in gore and bone and adoration. This writer is so atmospheric, and this experiment and this video has definitely confirmed I love atmosphere in books. I can deal with a not great plot, because I will say the biggest issues with both books that I have had are the plot have been a bit lackluster. More so in this one, there was like quite a big thing that I worked out pretty early on. I get the feeling you were supposed to work it out as a reader. I don't think it was supposed to be this huge big thing, and it was more about us waiting for the character to get to that point. But I still worked it out, like, I think I was 50 pages in and I was like, I'm having theories. And I messaged Jonah and he was like, me too. So yeah, that was great. I buddy read this, by the way, if it wasn't obvious. Jonah hasn't yet finished. I stayed up till 4:30 this morning because I decided I was gonna read a chapter before bed. And read the next 80 pages and finished it. We get some stuff throughout the book that I thought was really lovely, and I'm not going to say what, because it was actually quite a pleasant surprise when I came across it and I was like, oh, I love this. So I'm not going to tell you like what sort of things are in, but it's not just written, there are other things in the book and it just adds to it. I love how this author writes atmosphere. I love the chemistry they build between all of these different characters. I was left with more questions and more kind of, than I would have liked. I feel like I needed a little bit more at the end just to wrap things up a little bit more tightly. But other than that, I absolutely love this, and I posted on my social media, on my like stories on Instagram, and I was like, hey, C.G. Drews, you're now an auto-buy author for me, and these books are both going on my all-time favourites because holy shit. Little boys on their hair dryers thinking they're so tough and hard when they're not, they're just flaccid. Yeah, this was stunning. The imagery was like, it had me turning a little bit green around the gills a couple of times. It definitely had me squeamish, which is what I wanted. So I'm feeling like I definitely enjoyed this kind of creepy gothic feel, and I really love the atmosphere. I'm still not great with when it starts to give a lot of detail on the gore. I did start to get a little bit uncomfortable on one occasion in particular. So like the body horror stuff, once it hits a certain point, I get uncomfortable. But I also have definitely worked out I do not enjoy horror when it starts to go more into almost like an eldritch type thing where things become very, like, both in this Hazelthorn and The Woods All Black, the author went so into the atmosphere that the actual logic of the story started to lose me, and certainly the end of this I was actually struggling to work out what was going on, because it kind of became so not suspenseful, I'm trying to think of the word, like surreal, and it went too floaty is the best way I can describe it, that I was like, okay, I'm losing track of what's actually happening. And instead of enjoying it, I was getting confused and a bit irritated, because I was like, I want to be loving this, but I'm not actually entirely sure what's happening. And it kind of went a bit too far into that surrealism for me. So I love atmosphere, but I also do need things to not go too whimsical or too illogical, because as soon as we start going into illogical stuff and going into more sort of out there theoretical, metaphorical, I do struggle. But then again, I am quite a literal thinker, so that could be why. I think it's not going to be as high a 5-star as Hazelthorn. It's not my favourite of the two. But I think I'm going to give it a 5-star, even though the ending and the last sort of epilogue wrap-up bit did kind of disappoint. I do still think, I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to go with my gut. I am going to give this a 5-star. I have so few 5-stars this year. It can have the 5-star, and then I have another author now that has a 100% 5-star rate from me. So yes. Definitely love that. So that one is book 4, which was another gothic plant eco-y type horror, and got 5 stars. So definitely noticing a trend there, because that's what 3 plant horror things now that I've really enjoyed. So I'm definitely learning, and it kind of, I guess, makes sense. Being an ecologist, I would be more drawn to that kind of thing, but yeah, definitely enjoying that. And then moving on to book 5, I started an audiobook. Originally it was going to be Wildling Hall, which I found on Spotify, not realising that it had a little lock, like padlock symbol next to it, and you have to purchase it. And I didn't realise they even did that. I thought any audiobooks on there were just ready to go, but no, they actually have a separate library of books that you have to buy to read. So I was like, oh crap. Got my planning journal out, went through my list of books, and I was like, right, the first one I find that in the categories that I spun previously, I can't even remember what they were now, but I think it was like folk, paranormal, something else. So I went through all the books and I was like, the first one that I find on Spotify, I'm going to read, and that was The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. This, I have the understanding of, falls into more sort of like a folk horror as well as maybe a bit paranormal, and again is considered eco horror, only this one, rather than it being like, because I consider, like Jonah and I actually talked about this, like what actually do we each see as eco horror. Me being an ecologist is like anything to do with plants and the environment. So it could be very small scale, from things like with Hazelthorn, where it's just on one estate and has like sentient plants that have a very specific reason to be there and to do the things it's doing, all the way up to global scale climate catastrophe kind of thing. Whereas Jonah, he counts plant horror as separate to eco horror, and his perception of eco horror was more about like the global larger scale. So I kind of categorize it as both. Maybe I will adjust more once I start reading more horror, and I will make that distinction more between plant horror and eco horror. But this one is also eco horror, so it's kind of like folk and eco horror. In this book we follow these 4 Native American Indians who 10 years prior they went hunting because of weather conditions and things like that. They were forced to hunt where they shouldn't. They hunted down all these elk. Then one of the elk was actually pregnant, and he was like, right, okay, to honor you and to apologize for killing you while you were pregnant, he buried the fetus, and he was like, I'm going to make sure that every single part of you is used, so no part of you is wasted. Only they're caught by the game warden and they were forced to dispose of it. And so he's always kind of felt this guilt because the elk that they hunted that night, they legally and traditionally aren't supposed to be hunting that one anyway, and in that area. So they were already breaking the rules, and then to do something like, you know, kill a pregnant one and all of this. So we entered nothing was really done. Everyone went about their day. Nothing was really there. But 10 years later, we open the story following Ricky, who is at a bar. He goes out to go to the toilet, and while he goes out there, he starts seeing this elk stumbling around the cars, and it bangs into all these cars, sets all these alarms off, which alerts all of the white men inside. They all come out, and what do they see? They don't see the elk that he can see. They see an indigenous person trashing their cars, and ultimately it doesn't go well. Then we switch to the second person, who is Lewis. One night while he's fixing, I think it's like a light fixture that he was fixing, he has a vision of this elk on the floor, and it causes him to almost fall off the ladder, and if it wasn't for his wife at the last minute saving him, it would have ended his life, shall we say. Hello. Hi. I've been upstairs for a few days because I've been sick, and she doesn't like it and keeps coming up to tell me she doesn't like it. He's all like, what the hell was that? He's heard about his friend Ricky that has passed, and he's like, okay, something's not right here. And then the part I've gotten to, I'm only sort of like, I think I'm only about 20% in. The next part, there's some weird stuff happening. I am struggling with this a bit because of the animal content. Like, if you are very sensitive to animal horror and things happening to animals in a not very pleasant way and in quite a graphic way, I would say do not read this. I'm still 50-50 on whether I will continue because I am loving the writing, but I am really struggling with the animal side of things. If I do finish this book, I can see it getting a 4 stars from me. But as I said, it all depends on how much more detail. If it goes any further in detail than what we've already had, I think I will have to nope out. Because, yeah, I can deal with humans having stuff happen to them. I can deal with certain things, but when it comes to animals and children and like vulnerable people who have no way of actively defending themselves, I do not enjoy reading that, and I do struggle. But yeah, that is where I'm at with that. So again, I've ended up, without meaning to, this was supposed to be a religious horror vlog, evolved into a whatever horror I can pick up at the moment vlog, which ended up being primarily eco horror. So yeah, as I said, I'm either now going to cut to another clip that's going to be from tomorrow saying whether or not I have indeed decided to DNF, or I'm now going to put a little thing here to tell you if I've decided to DNF, and then I will bring up the final graphic, which will show all of the different horrors and types and what happened with those. This was an interesting experiment. Obviously, I started doing this in like August, which was really terrible because then I went into the horrific slump again, and it's really annoying because I wanted to do this as like a 3 or 4 video series, and each one. But I feel like this has given me a decent enough intro to horror to work out already the kind of things that I do and don't enjoy. I have sourced multiple books, so next year I definitely plan on doing a full-blown taste test of horror, maybe try out genres that I haven't tried out, because I do think horror is going to start, certainly that kind of creepy gothic atmospheric horror is going to start creeping more into my reading, and I think it will be a more common thing that I read next year. But I still don't think it's ever going to be like my favourite genre. It makes me too uncomfortable. And I have had 1 or 2 mild night terrors and nightmares, as a direct result of reading some of the books. So, you know, yeah. I do hope you enjoyed this video though. I know it's going to be a much longer one than I usually would do, but we had some fun times. I went to the cemetery and scared myself shitless. So I hope you enjoyed that, even if I didn't. Let me know in the comments if you would like me to do this again, and give me some ideas of things that you would like to see me try and do, like activities, bearing in mind my budget is almost non-existent, so they will have to be things that I can legally do, like not going into a cemetery at night, not knowing that I was breaking the rules, and also stuff that is kind of either free or very easy to do, very cheap to do. So yeah, do let me know your thoughts. Do you yourself read horror? If so, what are some of your favourite genres and subgenres, and are there any things in horror you don't enjoy particularly? And feel free to recommend some books below based off the things that I have enjoyed here. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Gavin, for giving me the inspiration for this in the first bloody place. Thank you to Lee, Jonah and James for their emotional support through this, especially on the night I went to the cemetery. I was checking in with them as well as my uncle. And yeah, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you're all good, I hope you're staying safe, and until next time, bye!